Hello, footy fans, and welcome back to the Chip and Chase podcast. I know it's been a while. We've been out of the game for a little bit, been away on holiday, enjoying some much-needed time off, but we're back trying to get things back into full swing, and that is back with the Supercoach podcast, so the wrap-up of round 16, the second major bye round, and our lead-up into round 17, the second miniature bye round. As you guys can see, if you are watching on YouTube, we have everything up on the screen. If you guys are just listening on an audio platform, head over to the YouTube channel. We've got the face cam going. We have everything up on the screen. It's just a much more interactive and more engaging bit of content. So if you are listening on an audio platform, head over to YouTube. But let's get right into it, shall we? We are going to try and make this one a little bit quicker. I would love to sit in chat and let it be known everything that's been happening. But I'm a busy bee. I've got a lot of things on today. Once again, we will hopefully be back tomorrow for the preview podcast heading into round 17, so tune into that one. But this one, let's focus on Supercoach. As you guys can see, if you are watching on YouTube, 854 was the score that we ended up with for round 16. Really disappointing. Look, I don't really know what to say. Round 16, it proved to be a tough one. I thought my team was quite set up for it. I was really happy with the squad I had. I just missed out on a lot of big ones. I had no Apasai Coruscant. I had no Jaden Campbell, Keanu Keeney, Sam Walker. Lots of big names I missed out on. I didn't own James Tedesco, which didn't prove to hurt, a massive amount, but it would have been nice to own, that's for sure. But yeah, we've ended up with an 854. People out there with 12, 1300s, and that's like actual competitive people doing that. So yeah, this is the first time we dropped almost 3,000 places, 2,996 places, which brings us out of the top 10K for the first time since round 1, I believe. Yes, it's really, really upsetting. But look, we're still very much in with a chance. I think at this point of the season, 12, around that 10K, you can still make movements. Maybe I can't win it from here. We'll have to see. I still think everyone's in with a chance if you're around this sort of rank, but I can definitely make myself there at the pointy end of the season. So total score of 17,314 is the top 8% of all super coaches at the moment. And team value as well, for those who are listening and want to know, not very good, 14,229,400. But let's get into the actual squad and let's have a look how they all did. So we made just the one trade last week. I can't recall if I put that up on the socials. If I did, it'd be over on the Instagram. So if you guys aren't following on the Instagram, make sure you go and do so. But we wanted to save some trades, just shore up a bit and make some cash. So we end up going Jaden Brayley to Jake Simpkin, which worked out well because we freed up a heap of cash. Jaden Brayley has been plummeting in cash since he's been moved back to the bench. Jake Simpkin came in, gave us another number. Not that we needed it, but it was just in case there were any late changes. 47 points from Jake Simpkin. I believe he played about 60 minutes. I don't think he played the full 80. So to get 47 in that time is pretty darn good. And 47 ended up being one of my scores this week because we had a shocker. But yeah, just the one trade last week leaves us with 288K in the bank, which I'm really happy about. Jaden Brayley wasn't really in my future plans. Obviously, Harry Grant did not play, our other hooker. Into the front row, Adam Fanua-Blake we brought in not last week, the week before, and he went 53 or something, and now to 34. Really disappointing. I mean, you guys know me, I'm a Warriors fan. That entire game against the Titans was very, very disappointing. So 34 points from Adam. Yeah, it's not the best. He's got 120, 130 break even at the moment. So if you guys don't own Adam, next week's probably the week to do it. Wait and see. Let him drop that cash. I assume Warriors will be up for a big one against the Broncos, who haven't named any of their origin stars heading over to New Zealand on the short turnaround. So he could go pretty big, hopefully. As an owner, I need that. But it's still the Broncos and the Warriors after their last performance. I'm not really convinced on them anymore. On the other end of the spectrum, Terrell May, 110 points, the absolute king of the bye rounds. He's gone, I think he went 100 points in both round 13 and now round 16, played 80 minutes, 200 and something meters, 34 tackles, 0 misses, something like that. He's an absolute machine. A lot of people looking to bring him in this week, which we will have a little bit of discussion on later in the podcast. For those of you listening, there are timestamps in the description of this video, so you can just skip ahead if you don't want to listen to me ramble and you want to know more of stuff that's going to benefit your side. But Terrell May's 110 was a welcome little surprise. Jack DeBellin didn't play. Josh Curran came back from his concussion to score 34 points, downgraded from about 47 to 34, so that was really disappointing to see. But yeah, 34 points from Josh Curran. Not great, but again, 34 was a scoring player for me this week. It was just a horrid week. Dave Fafita, 84. We take that. Didn't, put any VCs or captains on him. I thought the Warriors were going to roll the Titans. Not the case, but 84 points. You just come to expect that from Fafita, so we take that. Both and more. Moved out to the centres a bit late, just before kickoff. 65, got through his first try, which was good because I got a bit of money off that just from a betting standpoint. But center, it gets rid of his base stats a lot, but the try was a welcome little surprise to get him to that 65, which we're happy with. Samuel Afinu, 89, was massive. Loved watching him play. He looked really, really good. Made my team of the week just from a purely NRL perspective, obviously over on the Instagram as well. But 89 points was really good. The rest of my second row was Britton Nicola, Kai Pearce-Paul, and Viliami Fafita did not play. Luke Brooks, he's been here for a long, long time. We need to get rid of him. Spoiler alert, it's going to happen this week. 28 in the major buy round, which is, at least we had him for that. Turns out of every single player this week, I only had 14, so only one player could drop out. Luke Brooks was the player to drop out. I've held him for this long. I'm like, at least he's a number for 16 and 19, and he didn't even count as one of my scoring players. What can you say, really? It's just hasn't been the way forward, but we will be moving him on later in this episode. Dylan Brown didn't play as my other halfback. Cody Nikorima, 48. Looked to be going a lot better. In that first half, he just had his hands on a lot. Hope to get a bit more out of him, but in the end, 48 is pretty good against the Melbourne Storm. Lockie Galvin, 102 points. Again, won some money on him from a betting standpoint, crossing for his first and second tries. Not that I bet on the second, but 102 points was really, really good. We needed that. Dom Young, we ended up putting the skipper on. We had it on, we had the VC on Charles Nickel-Klukstad. I was almost certain that he was going to go insane and I was going to loop that. But it's a bye week, so you have that second play anyway. So we just put the VC as he was in the earlier game. Put the C on Young. When Chance scored 36, I obviously didn't loop that and rode Dom Young. 56 is a little bit better, but yeah, wanted a lot more from my captain this week. So what's that, 112 as my doubled score. What can you do? Look, we move on. We're just going to have to regroup from this. It's just been a tough little, both bye weeks I've actually struggled in, and it's really weird because I set myself up really, really well for these. But I'm missing out on all those top players. So, yeah, it's been frustrating, but what can you do, really? That's Supercoach. Ruben Garrick did not play. Joey Manu's got me a good 63 points. Jesse Ramian didn't play. Valentine Holmes didn't play. Kale Iro didn't play. And Greg Marju didn't play in my center wing. Then we go into the fullbacks. We had Chance with his 36. As I said, as our VC, really convinced he was going to go massive. I was so set on just looping him. 36. Look, to be honest, in hindsight, not even in hindsight, but looking at it now, 36 in a game that they lost 66-6 and he had no attacking opportunities. I can actually take that. I will live with it. I would have loved a lot more, but it's actually not the end of the world. I was toying with just selling him. I want to sell all stocks in the Warriors. I've lost hope. But now that I've let my emotions pass and I look at this from an objective standpoint, 36 points in a game that they lost like that, it's takeable. It's his lowest score of the season. He scored a 40 and a 36 between, not hundreds. I think he scored 100, 100-point score, but lots of 80s, 90s, 70s. So I will hold him and hope that the Warriors come good. It is going to be a short turnaround for the Broncos. They haven't named their team, haven't named their origin stars, so hopefully he can score better against them. Lastly, Lehigh Hopawate, who we brought in last week before the, 2 weeks ago, before his first price rise. 30 points from him, also really disappointing. I thought that the Seagulls would actually do something, like to score 0 points against the Rabbitohs. Really disappointing. It's stunted his cash growth a lot now. Got a break even of 5, but he's on the bye, and Tom Trbojevic is apparently due back the round after the bye. So what's that, round 19, the next major bye round? No, 18. Round 18. Whether or not Trbojevic plays at fullback or at centre remains to be seen. I hear a lot of people say centre. I'm of the belief it will be fullback. If you're moving him to centre, that means Ruben Garrick or Tola Taukula are the men to make way, or, move Garrick to the wing or whatnot. But they've been so set on keeping Garrick in the centres all season, I can't really imagine them, moving him now, like for the hell of it. So I think Lehigh will make way, but we'll have to wait and see. I'm not going to sell him this week. But that's how the team shaped up. We normally go through the team lists, which I haven't got up, but I can do that really quickly. We are going to try and speed through this one because I don't think it's the one that most people really engage with in the end. If you want to know team list news, you can go and find that yourself. Why can't I find the team list news? Here we go. Let's run through quickly, starting with the Bulldogs and the Sharkies. For the Bulldogs, Blake Taaffe is in at fullback with Connor Tracy out with concussion, so not too much there. Jarrell Skelton keeps his place on the wing for an extra week. They are giving Stephen Crichton the week off, probably. He is in the reserves, but I can't imagine he's backing up off the short turnaround, especially with how Skelton went. So that's something there. Not too much of note for the rest of them. Jacob Preston at 19th man, so potentially comes in. For the Sharkies, fresh off their bye, not too many changes for them. They look pretty set. Teague Wilton is in the reserve, so could potentially come in for them before game day. The Warriors and Broncos, Sean Johnson out for a month with an Achilles injury that has been troubling him all season. So Chanel Harris-Tavita comes in at 5'8", and Tamari Martin moves back to halfback. Rest of their team fairly unchanged. Kurt Capewell and Mitch Barnett return from Origin. Barnett at second row, Capewell on the bench. For the Broncos, as I said, they haven't named their Origin stars. They are in the reserves. That's Reece Walsh, Payne Haas, and Patrick Carrigan. But beyond that, not too much. So their side is as follows. Tristan Saylor at 1. Jesse Arthurs and Dean Mariner are the wingers. Katoni Staggs, Selwyn Cobbo, the centres. Merman Madden, the 5'8" and halfback. Then we have Jensen and Willison as the front rows. Billy Walters at 9. Brendan Piacora and Jack Gazieski in the second row. And Kobe Hetherington at 13. Their bench is Tyson Smoothie, Fletcher Baker, Josiah Karapani, and Martin Tapau. But again, changes could be made before kickoff. I can't imagine. Kevin Walters is big on giving his players a rest. I can't imagine he's backing anyone up. He said he would back Reece Walsh up. But it's a short turnaround. This is, 2 days after Origin? This is the early Saturday game. So they have, you have Thursday, Friday off technically. But it is in New Zealand. So you have to go from the Origin game and then fly over to New Zealand and take on the Warriors at home. I think he rests all of his Origin stars, but that remains to be seen. Next game, we have the Knights and Eels. Knights, not too much going on here. Fletcher Sharp still at fullback. Will Price getting his debut at 5'8". Love this. I think it's been needed. They need that electricity in their side. Defensive issues, sure, but I think it's just good for the side in general. So he's in at 5'8" for his debut. Beyond that, not too much. Kai Pearce-Paul does return from injury on the bench, though. For the Eels, not a whole lot going on here either. Sean Russell back into the centres for Dejan Arce, Micah Sevo coming back on the wing, and Blaze Talangi still on that other wing. Rest of their side looks fairly settled. Joa Fahengawi at lock forward with the normal lock forward whose name escapes me, Jaman Hopgood, out of the side with that back injury. Then we have Storm and Raiders. The Storm have got Grant Anderson and Jack Howarth have been named in the centres. Now, Nick Meaney has been ruled out with a injury supposedly. I wouldn't be shocked if it's a dropping, though. We'll have to see. It could be a bit of a disaster if you're a Nick Meaney owner, because if they win and they shore up that defense with Howarth and Grant Anderson, then does Nick Meaney get his way into the side? He hasn't been awful this season, but his defense has been really bad. And we know Craig Bellamy, he really emphasises defense. So we'll have to see that. It's supposedly just meant to be the 1 week for Meaney, but we will have to see if that becomes longer. Beyond that, not too much. Harry Grant and Xavier Coates returning from Origin as well. For the Raiders, they've named an unchanged team besides Nick Kotrick, who is out with an injury. Albert Hopewate comes onto the wing. Rest of their side is pretty stock standard. Tommy Starlin, the only other change, coming in at 9 for Zach Wolford after that 1 week off with concussion. So we'll have to see how they have, of course, had that very poor loss to the Tigers. Have to see how they come back from that. Then we have the Dragons and the Dolphins. Dragons, not a whole lot going on. The Fiona twins are both named. Lomax named to back up from Origin, as is Ben Hunt and Jaden Sewer. Jack DeBellin still named at prop, so hopefully we can get some minutes out of him. The other only thing of note is that Jack Bird is listed in the reserve, so he could be a late in, but not too Supercoach relevant regardless. For the Dolphins, Hammer has been named to return from Origin. Tessie New comes in on the wing for Jack Bostock, who is out with concussion. Probably just the 1 week, but we'll have to see how that one goes. Beyond that, also not too much. Felice Kofusi named off the bench to return from Origin as well. Tavita Pangai Jr. still in the side, and it's actually Josh Kerr, the man to make way. So Kerr's been pretty darn good for him all season. I did really like what Tavita was offered last week, but really interesting dropping that one. And then we have Panthers and Cowboys. Panthers, they have named all of their Origin players. So that is a Dylan Edwards, Brian To'o, Jerome Luai, Isaiah Yeo, Liam Martin. All of the players are returning from Origin. Not even in the reserves. They're all named to start. That is the early Sunday game. That's the early Sunday game. So they got a bit of time off to recuperate for that one. So I think they will play as named. Cowboys have named all of their players in the reserves. So that's Reece Robson, Ruben Cotter, Tom Dearden, Murray Taulagi, Valentine Holmes. All 5 are named in the reserves. I'd expect almost all of them, if not all of them, to play. But at the moment, their team is just a bit of few players everywhere. Purdue and Vilea are in the centres. Braden Burns on the wing. Clifford is in at 5'8". Tamalolo at prop with McLean. Lukey Finafuiaki in the second row. Sam McIntyre at lock, Harrison Edwards at 9 with Tom Chester, Jake Granville on the bench. It's just, there will be changes to that is for sure. Lastly, Roosters and Tigers. Oh, sorry, the only player who hasn't been named is Jeremiah Nanai, who is dealing with a bit of an injury in Origin camp, so he won't play that week. Then we have Roosters, Tigers. Roosters, Satili Tupanua comes in at the centres for Junior Ponga, who has accepted a 4-week suspension for that hit on Connor Tracy. So Tupanua getting the centre spot is very interesting. Brandon Smith still at 9. Connor Watson returns from Origin at lock forward. I really like that for the Roosters, to be honest. I still think Brandon Smith's the answer at 9. And Connor Watson, I like him as a lock forward. Terrell May, once again named to start at front row. Lindsay Collins coming off the bench. Angus Crichton also returning from Origin. But I would expect and hope he gets a bit of a spell in this game. They've just got so much, and they're up against the Tigers with the utmost respect. Like, they've got so much depth, they can afford to rest him, and I want him to lose cash so I can buy him back in Supercoach. Tigers, not too many changes here. In fact, it's actually the exact same team last week, except David Clemmer returns with Kit Laulii falling out of the side. But why would you change after the win that they got against the Raiders? So massive shout out to them. And that is all for the team lists. So let's look into my trades, shall we? Before we get into the pods, which we know we do every week, let's look at some of the most traded in. Most traded in, of course, is Fletcher Sharp. Now, I understand it. 204K, bottom dollar, minus 68 break even, meant for good price rises. He's also not like Ponga's not expected back for a fair few more weeks. He probably plays that round 19 bye round. Ponga could be back by then, but I doubt it. So he's a number. He's making a lot of money. I can see the appeal. I did Lehigh Hopawate 2 weeks ago, so it's still in that sort of area where you can be making these moves. Fullback is an awkward one, though, to be bringing in someone like that. Normally, you want to be running 2-gun fullbacks. Now, it is fair if you want to do it now, because a lot of people might be doing it and then waiting for players like Kalen Ponga and players like Tom Trebojevic to come back from injury, and then you move on to them. Maybe you aren't setting your fullbacks up too early because you're still going to trade and pivot regardless. I don't hate the trade. Maybe it's just because I did Lehigh 2 weeks ago that I don't really want to do it myself. I just thought 2 weeks ago, you still have that flexibility that you can be making money. While now it's a really awkward position where you're stuck between jumping on these cheapies that are going to make that cash and just maximizing on points. And fullback is just one of those positions that you want to maximize on points. I don't hate the Fletcher Sharp trade though. So if you are doing it, back yourself in. It's just not for me. Second most traded in, Ronaldo Mulatalo. This is a trade I will be making. His sub 500k for someone who's still averaging like 65.6 points. There it is. He's about 13th highest averaging center wing this year. Had a lot of poor games after his explosive start to the season, but sub 500k with the Sharks' really good draw upcoming, I'm going to use it as a good opportunity to make some cash. I will be bringing in Ronaldo. Maybe it's following the crowd a bit. For me, it just makes sense. Beyond that, Jarrell Skelton, next most traded in. I see it in a way. He was really good in his game last week, but he probably only plays this week. He might not even play this week if Stephen Crichton does get brought into the side. If he does play this week, Skelton, you're getting 1 week out of him. It's against the Sharks, who are no slouch, and I assume he falls out of the side after that. Bulldogs don't play round 19, so it's not like you'll miss him through Origin there, like you'll get him back for Origin there, sorry. I'm not really for it. Massive Skelton fan. I just don't see the buy in Supercoach. Jermaine Sarko, next most traded in at just above, a touch over 600k. I can see it. It's not a bad shout. We know how good he is, averaging 70.2 this season. Plays the next major buy round. Plays the Dragons this week. Could score a lot there. I don't mind that as a trade. And the next most traded in, Brian To'o. We'll talk about him a bit later. He features in our pods. So look, all of them center wings, and Fletcher Sharp, which is technically a center wing, technically only fullback, but you can move players around with Garricks and stuff. People, there's a theme here, and as people are trying to maximize on the most points that they can. Center wing is that position to maximize on this year. There's not too much value in going for front rowers and hookers and stuff. You just want 7 gun center wings so you can just play on matchups and just keep rotating. And I think that's the way to go about it this year. So I can see the appeal as to bring in all of these guys. Looking at the most traded out in my team, now this again is just specific to me. Lehigh Hopewate getting traded makes sense. They're on the bye. Turbo back the week after, probably maybe doesn't play. For me, I'm just going to wait and see. There's no rush in doing it this week. I could go to Fletcher Sharp. I don't really want to. Kaipius Paul, next most traded out. Makes sense. He's named on the bench, but he can, come back in at any point. He also versus Parramatta, who aren't that good defensively. He also only has a break even of 52. So you can wait a week, and even if you do, then in another week's time, 2 weeks' time, you have the buy round, and he's a number for that. So I'm not going to trade him this week. In saying that, I might be looking to move him on in the next couple of weeks. Ruben Garrick getting traded doesn't make sense. If you held him after last week, you hold him now. He'll be back next week, and he plays that last major buy round. He's an absolute gun. You want him for the rest of the season. Don't sell Ruben Garrick. Josh Curran, next most sold in my team. I understand that. I will be looking to trade him. Maybe not this week, but he's got 101 break even. Maybe this is the week to do it. Some things to think about there. And then Luke Brooks, next most traded out as well. Right. Let's look into the pods of the week. As you guys can see here, if you're watching on YouTube, they're up on the screen. If you guys aren't watching, if you're just listening on audio platform, these are all uploaded to the Instagram. So if you can, pull up on your phone, you can see the graphics for this and we can talk about it together. But best buys, round 17, our point of difference players. I'm going to put it up on screen. You guys can read through their stats there, all important stuff, and I'll read through what I've written on the right-hand side. So first up, Brian To'o. With the Panthers players named to return from Origin, To'o presents an appealing buy case for Supercoaches. The best winger in the NRL and Supercoach at sub 10% ownership seems too good to be true, but his 110 three-round average suggests otherwise. There's realistically no downside in his purchase other than the price of $776,000. But if you can get him in, then you are well and truly set. There's a reason he's on the most traded in this week. I think it's a go. They've got a really decent draw. They do have Cowboys this week who aren't going all that well, and even when they are, they still can leak defense. He can score some points there. Broncos the week after could be a tough one, but it's still Brian To'o. We know when he goes low, it's still 50-60. His base is just insane. Base of 36 and a VADE of 29 this year. It's insane sort of stuff. And then they're on the bye. Sure, that's the Origin week anyway, so he wasn't going to be playing. And then he comes back to Dolphins, Dragons. I just think it's the time to go. Minus 23 break even. he's a gun. You're going to want him for the end of the season. You don't need him because there's so many options at centre wing this year, but I still think he is the best Supercoach player, the best Supercoach centre wing. So if you want to do it, jump on him now. Next up, however, we have Daniel Tupou. We're focusing on centre wings this week as they provide the high upside needed to really make moves in the back end of the season, and Daniel Tupou is one of those. The Roosters draw is insane, especially with Tigers and Dragons in the next 2 weeks. At sub 600k and only 3% ownership, I absolutely love the play of jumping on Tupes this week. We know he's safe as houses with his 32 base as well, so I see no negatives with this purchase. I mean, I've said it all there. Really good draw, not just the Tigers, Dragons, but their back end of the season is really good. He's going to be the beneficiary of some tries. We know that. And even if he doesn't, 32 base per game. He's so safe. 3% ownership, sub 600k. I really like the play. I'm tempted to do it myself, but I don't think I will. I am tempted to use my last boost this week, though. So we'll have to see what we do there. Maybe not, but we'll have to have a look there. Whether or not to get Toots in, maybe. But if you are someone who's looking for a high upside player in centre wing, Daniel Tupou, jump on him. At that price, you can literally trade a Valentine Holmes to him, free up a shit ton of money, and you know what the Roosters and you know what Tupou can achieve. So I like that. Lastly, we have Dylan Lucas. Another centre wing here, but this time with the added bonus of a 2RF duel. Dylan Lucas has won the 80-minute second row position at the Knights, which means he has fantastic base and good upside. The Knights have a decent draw upcoming, including Manly in the round 19 major bye round, who didn't score a point against the Rabbitohs, followed by a potentially depleted Broncos side in the minor bye round of round 20. He's more than just a number. Dylan Lucas can be a season-long keeper, and now's the time to get in with his low break-even and match up against the struggling Eels. Again, this is why we write this stuff. It says it all there. You guys can see it up there. 49 base. He's safe as houses. Center wing 2RF duel. I love it. I really do. I won't be doing it again, but this is just presenting cases for you guys. So Dylan Lucas, if he tickles your fancy, I recommend jumping on him. Let's head over back here and actually go through what I'm doing. First of all, we mentioned we're bringing in Ronaldo. I will be selling Valentine Holmes. It's a little bit apprehensive. I really like what he's been up to this year. You know, hasn't really gone too bad. They do have a tough upcoming draw. He's just at a really good price point where I can sell him to Ronaldo, make 200 and something K, 230K, which I think is there a 230K difference between what these two players are going to score for the back end of the season. I don't think so. I can potentially still pick Valentine Holmes up back at the back end of the season as well. So I'm bringing in Ronaldo, which leaves me with 516K. Now, I was very close to a Lehigh Hopewate to James Tedesco trade. I really like the idea of this with the Roosters' upcoming draw, but Tedesco's up to 914K, and I'm just 6,800 short of getting James Tedesco in for Lehigh Hopewate. So instead, I'm going to pivot. We mentioned we're getting rid of Brooksy. It's time. I think with the Roosters' upcoming draw, if I can't get Tedesco, I want Sam Walker. It still leaves me 254K in the bank, so I can still play around with a lot. I get in a Sam Walker who, sure, he doesn't play round 19, but we'll get to that in a second. I'm pretty well set up for round 19. With the cash in hand, I can still get in a Nico Hines next week or the week after, which I want to do, potentially for a Cody Nikorima. I could even do it now if I wanted to. If I boosted, I could still go Nikorima, I believe, to him now. Let's just test it for the hell of it. Boost, bang, we'll move Dylan Brown down and average. Now, I'm a little bit short of bringing in Nico this week, 14K short if I wanted to. Not that I want to. Nico Hines is at 214 break even, maybe 212. If he scores 100, he still drops almost 100K. I'm happy to wait a week and get him next week or the week after. He could go quite low and then still have 180 break even and drop even more. So this week, those are my two trades. I'm going to save the boost. I'm going to quickly use it right now and just play around with if I can sell current to anything. The thing is, I don't really want front rowers. If I move Samuel Afine, if I move Viliami Fafita up, is there a second rower I want to bring in? Not necessarily. I was toying with the idea of Homalo Olakawatu next week, but obviously on the bye, so there's no rush to do it now. I think I'll just hold and suffer the price drop, or I could just do it now. No, it's not worth a boost to do it now, and I'm not getting the points out of it. So those are my 2 trades this week. Still 1 boost in the bank, 14 trades remaining. Let's go through the sit v starts. So obviously, Jake Simpkin, you're not playing. You're on the bye anyway. Harry Grant comes back in. Adam Fanua Blake, Terrell May are going to be my starting front rowers this week. Still have options with DeBellin and Curran. My Titans players are out, so no David Fafita. We'll bring back in Britton Nikota. We will drop Beau Fermor to... Oh, I don't really want to play Kai Pearce-Paul. Maybe this is where we bring in the... this is tough. Do we want Kai Pearce-Paul against the Eels? Potentially. Yeah, okay. We'll bring in Kai Pearce-Paul against the Eels, and then we'll have Samuela Fainu as my last. Jack DeBellin can start with a reserve, but we might change that in a second. Sam Walker into the side. Dylan Brett. No, we are changing it. Jack DeBellin is going to start for Kai Pearce-Paul. I don't want to play Kai Pearce-Paul, so Jack DeBellin can start at second row. My second row is a JDB, Nikota, and Fainu. I now get to play around with my reserves, but we'll get to that. Sam Walker will start as my halfback. Lockie Galvin will start over Britain. Oh, hang on. Dolphins have Dragons. Nikorima is an option. I actually will play Nikorima. I might sit Galvin this week. Then we go to my center wingers. Garrick, you're still out. This is where we have my many, many Sharkies players. So Jesse Ramian, Ronaldo Mulatalo, Dominic Young, and Joseph Manu will play for me this week. Charles Nickel Klukstad will play at fullback. Lee Haihopawate is out. So my reserves will go to, well, they will be going between Greg Marju, Cale Iro, Lockie Galvin, Dylan Brown, Kai Pearce-Paul, Josh Curran. So I've got 6 good playing options, even with everyone else on the bye. Greg Marju, I like this week. It's against the Eels. I think he can score. I think he has decent base regardless. I will be throwing one on Cale Iro just because he's got really good base regardless. So there's 2. Dylan Brown will get one himself. So the last, is it a Kai Pearce-Paul, a Lachlan Galvin, or a Josh Curran? I think I'm going to go with... Lachlan Galvin. At least he's playing 80 minutes. I'm not quite sure what Kai Pearce-Paul is going to achieve. He could come out and kill it, and if he does, so be it. But that's where I'm sort of sitting. So my reserves are Greg Marju, Cale Ido, Lachlan Galvin, and Dylan Brown this week. Really happy with that. Let's look at captain options. We need to rush through this quite quickly. I'm running out of time. Bulldogs, Sharks. Options here include, of course, Nicho Hynes if you own him, or if you're going big balls and bringing him in even with his break-even. Definitely a VC option. Any other Sharkies? Probably wouldn't. Any Bulldogs plays? Probably wouldn't. Warriors, Broncos. I don't trust the Warriors anymore, so I don't think there's anyone there. Even as a Chance owner, you could potentially VC. I'm not going to. Broncos are depleted. And I do think Warriors get up for it. Maybe I'm just holding out hope, but I'm not looking at captaining or vice-captaining anyone in that game. Knights and Eels, potential options here. If you're a Mitch Moses owner and he's backing up from Origin, potentially that. That's about it, actually. I'm not going at a Dylan Brown. I'm not looking at any other Knights players either, so that'll do. The Storm and Raiders. Here, I really like the idea of Harry Grant. Now, maybe his upside isn't incredible compared to a lot of other players, but I think Raiders concede a lot of points to hookers. I just see him going on a tear in this one, so I like the idea of Harry Grant. You can potentially go Pappenhausen this week as well. With Nick Manny out, I'd assume Ryan Pappenhausen picks up the kicking again, even if it's just for the 1 week. It could be a 1 week play if you own Pappy, so there's an option there. Raiders players, you wouldn't captain anyone. Dragons, Dolphins, I'm not looking to captain anyone. You could potentially do a Zach Lomax if you own him, or a Hamaso Tabuai-Fido or Jermaine Asako, but they're pretty big balls players. I'm not here for it. Panthers, Cowboys. If you own Dylan Edwards, This is the best captain option of the week, in my opinion. We know what he can achieve. He'll still be goal kicking. For me, it's Dylan Edwards. Any other Panthers players? Not really. Any Cowboys players? Not against the Panthers. Even if you own Scott Drinkwater and Valentine Holmes, I'm not doing it. So ignore that. And then Roosters, Tigers. This is the big money. If you own a James Tedesco, it is meant to be raining, but I think James Tedesco, regardless, against the Tigers, you do that. Sam Walker, really good captain option. If you want to go big balls and Joey Manu and Dominic Young, you can do that as well. In terms of what I'm doing, as Harry plays before, like he plays in the earlier game, I'll be putting a VC on Harry Grant this week, and I will be putting a captain on my newly brought in Sam Walker, hoping he can score another 100, kicking all those goals when they trounce the Tigers. But honestly, I've got more of a feeling about Harry. If he does score 100, even if it's a low 100, I probably loop this week. Like I've got a low scorer. My low score this week will be a Kai Pearce-Paul or a Josh Curran. Like I don't really have any AE nightmares in my side. So if Harry Grant goes a simple 100, I will loop it and just take that. He could potentially go Terrell May if you want to be safe as well. But not quite sure what the Roosters will do with his minutes. I assume he plays a lot more and they give Lindsay Collins more of a rest. But who knows? You never really know with Trent Robinson. So that's where I'm going. And I believe that wraps us up, which is good because I need to get out of here. We will be back again tomorrow or the next day. Obviously, no footy on Thursday this week. We have Origin tonight, which I'm very much looking forward to. Having a few of the boys over, we'll get around that, up the Blues. But whether it's tomorrow, the Thursday, or Friday, I will be doing our preview podcast, and we will be having some more content coming potentially next week on the Instagram. So once again, if you aren't following on Instagram, go and do so. That is at Chip and Chase Podcast. I also let you guys know any updated trade plans over on there. So if you want to know that stuff, you want to keep up to date in the loop, that's the place to do it. But that'll do us. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll see you guys next time.